What's good, Osiris here. We're doing a Morning Spice number 77. Thanks for joining. Gonna get the Rumble stream going, and we will be popping off. Pause. Every time I try to set up my Rumble stream, I feel like I'm at the DMV or something. Rumble, I love Rumble, but they made it even better. Actually, they've streamlined it, and I still find it very annoying. It's the only site I have to do all this stuff for. But that's not your concern. It's almost up. Rumble's almost up. We got to bring Rumble in because I don't know if YouTube will make it through. You never know. How's everybody doing tonight? Toy Mafia. If you're still in the building, what's up? Thank you for stopping by, getting me hype with the yo. Any Groypers in the building? I haven't really talked about the Groypers in a minute. How y'all doing? The Groypers be secretive sometimes. Because I'll be like chatting with people. I'm like, oh, you're a Groyper. I didn't even know you were a Groyper. Why are you like kind of in the closet? Like, be a proud Groyper. Be proud about it. And I'm not joking. You should be proud of it, man. The Groyper community is dope. So much different than what it's portrayed to be. So much different. Very humble, kind of like passive type people, to be honest with you. Most of the ones I've chatted with. Peaceful. Yo, you are in the building, Toy Mafia. Don't worry, we're going to get started soon. I'm almost done at the Rumble DMV, so just give me a second. There we go. I'm not going to check it. Hopefully Rumble's up. I did all the paperwork, so I'm hoping that it's gone through. I only have 2 topics today. I have Joe Biden. We're going to talk about Joe Biden, and he had one hell of a day on the anniversary of 9/11. I'm not going to have much room to talk because my headliner probably disqualifies me, but I don't know. I'm not president, so maybe you hold me to a different standard. But that will be the second topic. The first topic, I'm going to be happy to go into this. This is the headliner, the thumbnail, and I do have a breaking announcement to make, and that's going to be covered in this first topic. Believe it or not, it could be a shocker. Could be a shocker about Middle MAGA and the website and our political direction. Let's just say, I don't think I give this channel enough credit. You know, this channel here, Middle MAGA, and I do these nightly spices now that used to be called Morning Spice because for a little while, very hot second, I could still do it, but it's either early in the morning or late at night. And for a while, I was up at like 3, 4 in the morning doing lives or getting ready for lives, and I would do the live at 5 or 6. But I'm still working on it. This channel might not have the marketing skills as others. It might not have the reach of other channels. It might not have the production value of other channels. But one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stream nightly. Because one thing that I can do is make sure that this channel has effort, that I'm putting in effort to the channel. Troy Mafia says, Rumple's good. Thanks for checking it out. And he's putting in effort. And I appreciate that. This main channel is a testament to blood, sweat, tears, and in this case, splooge. I'm willing to put all of that into this channel. For this headliner, I dug deep into the sock drawer for this one to do research. And if no one in corporate media is going to cover these stories, sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. Think about this. If you're going to run for public office, it's one of the biggest decisions you could possibly make. Typically, these are people who are well connected. They're big to do. They've got a lot of friends, real friends, fake friends, extended family, generations in the community where they've got money piled up, piled up, piled up. That's what our politics has become. That's what happened to Nancy Pelosi. She's highly skilled, don't get me wrong, but you've got to have that networking and that connection. And even if you have all of that, it's still a serious decision. You still have to get a lot of money. Think about the sacrifices you have to make. Susanna Gibson, a Democrat running for a significant seat in Virginia's House of Delegates. And she made that leap, let's just say. And she put herself out there. And she is running. And what I would say to her is you go do you, girl, because you have converted breaking news, middlemaga.com is now fully in support of the Dems, the Democratic Party, and in particular, driven by Susanna Gibson, a Democrat running for this seat in Virginia's House of Delegates. This is the state of Virginia politics. She is alleged, I'm just reading the news, to have performed live online sex acts with her husband and encouraged viewers to tip them for specific requests. She's willing to sacrifice for that seat. Susanna Gibson, a nurse practitioner and mother of two, is said to have streamed these acts on Chatterbait, a platform known for live streaming of adult content. Archived videos from Chatterbait featuring the couple were found on another site. And let's just say I have independently confirmed. So naturally, if you're at that point of the seediness of the internet, that you're on a site called Chatterbait, because it's masturbate, creative name. It's masturbate, but with chatting. So let's call it Chatterbait. Of course, is that how you pronounce it? I presume so, Chatterbait. There's another site called Record Bait, basically recording Chatterbait. Once you're in hell, there's a lot of options. And that's just one of those other doors. I've never heard of that site in my life. I've heard of Chatterbait before, but before I had to do research, I was not familiar with it. There's all these different sites to float whatever boats people have got out there. For me, Pornhub is good enough, but if you need Chatterbait, then do Chatterbait. Whatever works for you. But it looks like that one was more tailored to what Suzanne Gibson's strengths were. The most recent videos were archived on September 30th of last year, 2022. Gibson in the videos can be seen soliciting tips for performing specific acts, which might be against Chatterbait's terms and conditions. There's a lot of weird things about this story. How could soliciting tips be against the terms and conditions of a site that is called Chat Plus Masturbate? Explain that to me. There must be some type of legal reason for that. Isn't that kind of the whole point of the site? I don't know. I'm not an expert in this Chatterbait type of thing, but you do the video and you chat with people, not to just hang out. You're hoping that these people behind the screen put in their credit card and give you money. So she's trying to fund her campaign, allegedly, or fund something, or maybe it's just a kink. Who knows? In some videos, though, she mentions raising money for a good cause. I'm sure it's for a good cause. Who doesn't want to talk about school choice with somebody who's showing their ass on the internet every day? Literally. That's a tough transition, isn't it? If you donated to her while her ass was up, and then later on she's in a suit or whatever, suit pants, pantsuit or whatever she's wearing, professional outfit, and she's talking about Medicare for all. I don't. It's a tough switch over, I would say, if that's how you know her. Gibson's response to this controversy, Gibson responded to the exposure of the videos as an illegal invasion of her privacy designed to humiliate her and her family. No, you did that, not me. You're triggering me now. So Gibson said that the videos leaking of her recording herself and her husband, who looks like Beto O'Rourke for some reason. I looked at the New York Post article. I was like, is that Beto O'Rourke? Now that I mentioned it, I guess I got to find. I don't even have the link here really for it because I'm using. I'm organizing my notes through ChatGPT now, so I just tell you where I'm getting the notes, and it's working out. But since I did mention him, that would be really whack if I didn't show. Maybe it's just me. Sometimes you say, maybe I'm just following too much politics. Everybody looks like a politician now. But I did a double check. I was like, wait, what? I didn't know Beto O'Rourke rode that way is what my first thought was. Like, oh, okay, he got a little bit of credit in my book now. But there she is right there. Just campaigning has a whole different meaning in 2023. Go ahead and do you. See, is it just me? Did you get Beto O'Rourke vibes from this dude right away? I was like, Beto, okay. No, it's not. Her husband is, I don't even know his name. It's irrelevant. My support is behind her. She has my firm support. That nigga, I don't know who he is, don't care. So there she is. She had that response to say, wait a second, you can't share the videos that I shared to degenerates online. Why can't I? I did not record these videos, ma'am. You put them up there. You made money off of it. You're a public figure. Why is it my fault? I think you showed up well in them if you want my critique. She stated that her political opponents and their Republican allies are using this as a tactic to silence women when they voice their opinions. No, I don't think that's what they're doing. I think in part, some people are really interested in seeing the product. And I think it's just a salacious headline. Your videos were on mute when I was watching them, so you're already silenced in my book. Daniel P. Watkins, Gibson's lawyer, mentioned that distributing the videos might be a violation of the state's revenge porn law. I have 2 middle fingers for you, sir. He also stated that they are working closely with law enforcement on this matter. Why? Is she turning herself in as a fortified, confirmed hooker? What else are you going to law enforcement for? We are in La La Land. This heifer and the husband is involved in this too, put videos of herself on there performing for everyone. We download the videos or look at the videos or do research to make sure that you're providing people with accurate information. Doing the hard work. I'm doing the hard work here. I'm the one sacrificing. I could be asleep right now. And I'm the one that had to do this research. I'm the victim here. Instead, no, I'm the criminal. Back in the day, you would have been called a hoe. Now, I'm the one that has to worry about getting locked up. What are you knocking on my door for? She put it on Chatterbait. What do you want from me? And by the way, I was just doing research anyway. I'm not redistributing anything. I'm sharing the news. Gibson is competing against Republican David Owen, a retired home builder. He's boring. You see, I'm with the Dems now. Like, I don't need a Republican retired home builder. In the upcoming elections on November 7th. This is actually a big election. In response to the news, David Owen was like, my name's Bennett and I ain't in it. That'd be funny if they looked at David's weblogs and it was like chatterbait, chatterbait, chatterbait. He was probably just doing Oppo research. That's why. Right, David? David's like, I don't know nothing about this. Dave was like, I don't know nothing about not me. Probably it could be true. I'm not saying it's not. The Republican operative who informed the Post about the videos denied any connection to the Owen campaign. I'm sure there was no connection there. Probably 6 degrees of separation. The outcome of the election could influence Governor Glenn Youngkin's conservative political agenda, including abortion restrictions. I am so tired of talking about abortion. It's a losing battle for, I am so tired of talking about that. Gibson's campaign. To no surprise to anyone, Gibson has raised more money than Owen. She has raised more funds than Owen. Shocker. But she spent a significant portion during the primary against fellow Democrat Bob Shippey. I'm not familiar with. So she had to burn a lot of that money that she earned on the block, the digital block, to get out the primaries. Her campaign focuses on preserving abortion rights, banning assault weapons, reducing the cost of living, and environmental protection, along with getting your jollies off. That's a well-rounded package. Gibson's campaign website showcases her professional background in the medical field. Everybody has their type of stories and fantasies, so that fits with that too. Then she can slide on over to the prescription drug issue. Her education and her personal life. I am fully on board with Democrats. You remember Tiara Mack, the Rhode Island state, I believe she was a state senator in Rhode Island. The Democrat Party's lit. I will take no other answer other than, yeah, they are.
Senator Mack.
Dems, they'll do whatever it takes. They will stand on their head
Senator
and twerk.
Mack.
There's a lot to appreciate here in this video from Tiara Mack.
Vote Senator Mack.
Susanna Gibson. They're not afraid to do what it takes to win. I mean, that takes talent.
Senator Mack.
Can you do that? She's pretty thick, too. And I think she passes the test.
Senator Mack.
She's not fat. She's thick. There's a lot there. Remember Katie Hill? Katie Hill had that controversy. We call her Katie Threesome Hill. Do you? I'm just letting you know why I'm trying to back up my assertion that the Democrat Party is lit. Now, don't get me wrong. The Republicans are lit too. Don't get me wrong. Republicans are lit too. But Dems go harder. Remember, Madison Cawthorn exposed how lit the Republican Party was.
Sexual perversion that goes on in Washington. I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington, with the average age is probably 60 or 70. And I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild. Sexual perversion that goes on in Washington. I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington, with the average age is probably 60 or 70. And I look at all these people.
Who doesn't appreciate at 11:41 Mountain Time the visualization of Mitch McConnell in the middle of an orgy?
A lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to.
See, he's a young guy. Looked up to him my whole life. He's talking about Lindsey Graham and who knows what he's getting into. I wouldn't be surprised if, let me pause. Tim Scott paused. Allegedly, not allegedly, pause. They're all in on this stuff. And what Madison didn't understand was when they ask you to go to the blow and orgy party, you have to go to the blow and orgy party. Because if they ask you to go to the blow and orgy party and you don't go to the blow and orgy party, then you're gonna have a video come out with you jumping on a bed on top of a dude and boom, 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 and then you're done. Your political career is done before it starts.
A young guy in Washington, remember the average age is probably 60 or 70. And I look at all these people, a lot of them that
Yeah, who doesn't want that visualization? Probably walk in, it's Nancy Pelosi. Well, we're at the channel, we good with that one. But then who else comes in? Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Grassley. They go into one of the parties and he's like, the blow's on the table, the door opens up, and he's like, is that Chuck Grassley?
Being kind of a young guy in Washington, remember the average age is probably 60 or 70. And I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild. Sexual perversion that goes on in Washington.
Did you see the look on his face when he said I forgot what he said, but this dude, whoever is interviewing him, was like, whoa. He was like, whoa. He tried to play it off the first time. But then the second time, he couldn't play it off. He was like, whoa, this is deep. Let me bring this back.
Guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you.
I don't know who this dude is, but he was like, bruh. I have no idea who this dude is, but he's scared of the motherfucker right now. He's scared. He's like, bruh. I don't know who this dude is, but he's like, bro, don't come on my podcast and violate the bro code. You're putting all of our lives in danger. I don't know. Right after this interview, I guarantee you, he called whatever connects he had in D.C. and said, I had nothing to do with that. He called Chuck Schumer. He called Marsha Blackburn. He called all of them. He was like, that was not me. He called Mike Braun. I'm just trying to name as many as I can. He called them all. Like, he called the senators. He called all of them in. It was like, you know what he was talking about there, that violation of the borough code, they ain't have nothing to do with me. So I fully support Democrats because of the way they rock and roll. Pure Blood Steve says, there was weird ass shit when Dennis Hatzler was Speaker of the House and convicted pedophile. Yeah, there's some of them that's just, I mean, we got a president right now that's like, they on some weird, like these people are. If you want to do the chatter bait, I don't got a problem with that. But as a public figure, like as a politician, is that the next level now? We're at this pace in 2030, we're going to prawn hub for the debates. They're going to have a different type of debate in 2030 at this rate. And there won't be any talking involved. Eric Smith, long time no see. What's up? Great friend of the show. Man, great to see you in the chat. Thank you, sir. Even Madison Cawthorn at that moment sounds high on cocaine with the cocaine jaw. Yeah, that podcaster was like, bruh, don't you do that. That podcaster had so much in the look in his eyes. He was like, you violated the bro code. Are you a idiot? If you're going to say no to the blow and orgies, don't you dare come on my podcast talking about the blow and orgies. Now you got me involved. And have you heard of since that came out, have you heard anything from Madison Cawthorn? Somebody do a wellness check. I haven't heard a peep out of him other than when that came out. Then you had the next thing we saw was his hand casually going on the leg of some other dude, like a Larry Sinclair, he was about to do a Larry Sinclair on a dude. Then the next video came. This nigga was in his wheelchair. I kid you not. I'm not looking up the video right now. If you have not seen this, I am not lying. There's a video where Madison Cawthorn is in a room with some other dude. He's in a wheelchair. I don't know if he has superpowers. That nigga levitated. He just levitated up out of the wheelchair. I don't know how. And went ahead and did what he did on the bed. And it's just all on the internet. So after that video, those are the next two things I saw. And I don't know if that dude's alive. Me personally, I haven't seen or heard from him. He was a young rising star in the GOP. So to all you young rising stars, you want to get that power. These are the most aspirational, degenerate sleaze bags on the face of the planet. And if you want to get into that arena, then you're going to have to figure out how to navigate those waters. Metalopoly's like, what's going on? Shocking news. Breaking news. Dems are degenerates and perverts. You don't say. Metalopoly's like, what's going on? Water is wet? What's happening? I want to appreciate it though. I don't take enough time to appreciate their degeneracy, and I have converted Middle MAGA over to full support, at least of Tierra Mack, Susanna Gibson, Katie Hill, Nancy Pelosi. Kirsten Sinema hasn't done anything wrong that I know of, but we're putting her in that group too. The AI Lauren Boebert's in that group. The AI AOC is in that group. Not the real ones, the AI versions. So we just make it's a bipartisan effort. I don't know. There is no segue into the next topic, but Biden didn't show up, and he's breaking away from a tradition that's been going on for 22 years. And I think the overarching theme of this is that we just don't trust each other. And I think that's why it's a big story more than anything else. We don't trust each other, but it's worth talking about from that angle. Because I don't know how, like at some point, what are we doing on 9/11 every year? It's not like he didn't acknowledge it. He just didn't go to the site. So we don't trust each other. Obviously, I don't trust Biden. He came out with the red sermon speech, demonizing fellow citizens, law-abiding citizens, trying to stick needles in their arms or firing them from their jobs. Those are things you can't overcome. So you're always looking, if that's your person that you're kind of leading you, anything they do, you look at them like it's a failure. And here's the news of the day about 9/11 from Bonchi, from Red State. And then this is through, of course, what's his name? The only reporter that asks anybody of any question in any question of like any type of relevance.
Well, our focus the last couple of days has been on President Biden here in South Asia. And when I asked a White House official why it is that President Biden was here and missing the 9/11 commemorations at the attack sites, the analogy that I was given is that 22 years after Pearl Harbor, U.S. presidents were not still going to visit Hawaii.
Well, and I don't know if that's true or not. People are looking that up. It's not worth it. I don't care. If you know in the chat, you can put it in the chat, but I really don't care. I think it's a fair point, to be honest with you. It's not like, I think it has to be acknowledged. It's such a monumental day. And Libby Emmons was on Timcast, and it's her birthday. I forgot. I've watched Timcast for 3 years now, so I probably heard that last year and just forgot. But, I feel for her because it's overshadowing everything. And it's in a somber way. But I remember 9/11 as a somber moment, but the last time that people kind of looked at each other as Americans, to me, that was the last time. Whether it was out of ignorance, which it was, okay, it still doesn't change that on that day, everybody has stories about who they talk to. And I haven't heard one person tell me on 9/11, I had this beef with this random stranger. It's all like, hey, we were in the car shop, or we were at the cafe, or I was walking down the street and just talked to this random person. So it's a somber day, but I actually remember, that's what I remember the most about that day. I remember being shocked in the morning. I was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I worked in Southfield, Michigan at the time. And I remember, like, damn, like, what's happening? Because I heard the first tower got hit. I don't remember the exact sequence, so excuse me if I get it wrong. But from what I remember, the first tower got hit. And nobody said it was a plane or anything at first, to my knowledge. And I listened to this on the radio, believe it or not. I think back then I was playing Madden. I was off work that day. It was a weekday, but I was off work. I think it was a Tuesday. If I'm not, that'd be crazy if I remember the exact day. Some of you probably do if you've been looking it up. But yep, it was a Tuesday. Wow. I think I remember that. That's crazy. It was a Tuesday, and I remember I was off work because I was telling somebody I was going to work for them on the weekend, so I got a day off during the week, and I was playing Madden. I think I was playing Madden on PC back then. I was a beast in Madden. I think I was using Eddie George on the Titans. Was it the Titans or it was the Titans, I believe. And I would pound people with the tough running game. I believe it was Eddie George, but I like the big running backs because my most fun was just hit sticking people, like trucking them over. And I would truck them, and then I would play action fake and just go deep. And that's literally all I did. Then sometimes to the tight end. But I was actually ranked very high in Madden at that point with a very simple strategy. But the people that knew all the plays, they would destroy me. The top, like 5% of people would destroy me. But I think I was playing Madden and listening to this all unfold on the radio. And you know who I listened to the most that day was actually Jim Rome. Jim Rome is the famous trash-talking King of Smack radio broadcaster. One of the best, legendary. I put him up there with Rush Limbaugh, and he's just a legendary broadcaster. The Smack Off was just, I would call off work for the Smack Off. It was that good. He would just have people call into his radio show and talk smack. It was just so good. And that day was no sports, obviously. Nobody was talking about any sports or none of that. ESPN, none of that was sport. None of that. And it was about for a week. Nobody talked sports, or maybe it was at least a few days. It was definitely not during that week. I thought it was maybe not during that week, maybe one more week, and then after that, people started talking about stuff. But that was the last time people that's the last time I kind of felt the American spirit just without politics. And then it was all downhill from there. Because we were ignorant, and our ignorance is always a good fuel for the most evil organization that's ever existed, that is the Democratic corporate establishment, and the Republicans are just like a wing inside of that. And they take your ignorance and then they run with it, don't they? They're a hell of a evil organization. But it was 22 years ago. I don't think you need to go to the site every year. I don't need that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody else give me their perspective. If you had anybody, a lot of people had connections, 6 degrees, 3 degrees. So that's no beef to anybody, obviously, who had close ties. I didn't have any, close family members or anything like that. But I think it has to be acknowledged, of course. I mean, how could you not acknowledge it? But I don't think you have to go to the site. But it's still worthy to cover because we don't trust each other. Stephen L. Miller said John F. Kennedy visited Pearl Harbor in 1963. This White House is national disgrace. I didn't independently check that. To me, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's good if it's true. I mean, information is good information, but it doesn't change my take. And it's a tough message for the Biden administration to give to everyone, especially since he's not doing well to me in the polls. So I said, I'm honestly confused by the political calculation and not show up. I don't think you have to go to the site anymore, but I don't know what their political calculation is. What I'm wondering is, were they worried about what he was going to do if he showed up? That's why I really think they didn't show up. Maybe they're glad he didn't go. Mays has an amazing tweet on this. And maybe they didn't want him to go because they were worried about him, saying something like, Beau Biden, hypothetically, died while serving his country in Iraq. Tragically, he was killed in a deadly kitchen fire, much like the fire that destroyed Maui. The fire was started by insurrectionists, the same type of insurrectionists that tried to overthrow the government on January 6th. Beau's last words were, promise me, Dad, promise me you'll run for president. Joe Biden took a train to the funeral because, after all, he is Mr. Amtrak. On the way, the conductor squeezed Joey's cheek and asked, why did Trump call Nazis very fine people? After the funeral, Joe was overcome with grief, so he did what he has done his entire life. He marched for civil rights. Joe was arrested later that night for having too much empathy. It was one of the best posts I've seen in a long time. Just compiling the lies, gaffes, all that stuff. But what did Biden do on the day? I do have problems with that. Well, at least his team. This is a real tweet from Adrienne Watson. I don't know if they're allowed to delete tweets or not. This is the National Security Council spokesperson. The official account of the White House National Security Council spokesperson serving under the leadership of National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. You're supposed to be a master with your context awareness. On 9/11, dated right here, right in the morning, how does this happen? She tweets, we welcome this weekend's announcement by Saudi Arabia committing $20 billion to support President Biden's signature initiative, the Partnership for Global Infrastructure. We welcome this weekend's announcement by Saudi Arabia. You couldn't have waited a day? I know it happened on the weekend, but you couldn't have waited till like maybe next week? Let some time for this to breathe? Why would I be concerned about the Saudi Arabia? Many people in the chat probably know what the concern would be. You're on 9/11 giving credit in some way to Saudi Arabia? I think it's pretty close. I think it's almost close to the point where these people just come out and just tell us that they, F it. We're not going to pretend anymore. We just hate you. We absolutely hate you. Let's talk about the Saudi involvement, allegedly. Well, some of it's factually, but I want to put allegedly just because I'm going to get into some other stuff here. Allegations of Saudi's government role. We don't know that for sure, but they pretty much rule with an iron fist over there. There have been claims, allegedly, that elements within the Saudi Arabian government may have played a role in the attacks or had foreknowledge of them. The connection, some reports have highlighted connections between the hijackers and individuals with ties to the Saudi government. In 2021, an FBI declassified document confirmed links between Saudi Arabia and 9/11 terrorists. Saudi Arabia has denied any involvement in the attacks and called for a release of all classified information so they can respond to any allegations. I'm sure they are looking forward to that. The families of 9/11 victims have filed lawsuits against Saudi Arabia, accusing the kingdom of aiding the terrorists. And our National Security Council spokesperson is giving Saudi Arabia props on 9/11. What a clown show. But that wasn't it. But wait, there's more. Joe Biden joked about football. Let's take a look at that. In his speech, he was going to talk here. He had opening remarks on the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. Let me make sure that I get the source here, Fox News. This is summarized via Fox News. President Biden began his speech with a lighthearted comment about Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy. Both Biden and Dunleavy hail from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Biden remarked, "Governor Dunleavy, it's good to see you. The governor and I have something in common. We're both from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I wish I had him playing on my high school ball club when I was playing. I could have been All-American having you in front of me." In reaction to the joke, it was met with criticism. They said, "Gross." Jake Snyder said, "Gross. He can't not make it about himself, can he?" Podcast host and former NBC Sports reporter Michelle Tafoya, who showed a lot of courage, leaving NBC, doing her own thing independently. OMG, POTUS begins his 9/11 speech talking about how he could have been an All-American. Red State writer Bonchi, Joe Biden cracks jokes about being an All-American football player on the anniversary of 9/11. I don't think he meant any harm by it, but again, we don't trust each other. We don't like each other. It's pretty vicious. And I think Joe Biden has to understand that, and he has to stop trying to be so witty. He tries too hard. Bro, just on one speech, just read the teleprompter. He had an issue with that. I forgot what the speech was. He had an issue with that before. That was after the shooting, one of the shootings. I believe it was one of the mass shootings. He did some type of joke. And again, on that one, I also said, I don't think he meant anything by it. That didn't offend me. But I understand where people are coming from. They're just like, that's not what we want from you. We don't even like you. Then on his day was not done. He lied about being there, the day after. This is Snopes. It's not a good day when you're a Democrat Party corporate candidate and Snopes is fact-checking you as false as hell. I put the as hell part, but as you can see, I'm sharing it false. What was the claim? Then U.S. Senator Joe Biden visited Ground Zero, the site of the fallen Twin Towers of the World Trade Center the day after 9/11. They say it's false. I don't even trust that. I'm just saying we don't know. So I don't even know if false is accurate. All evidence points to he can't prove that he was there. But even this fact check is wrong. But my point on going to Snopes and looking at it is, hey, Joe, I think it's time to get the message. When Snopes is fact checking you false when they don't need to, they could have said unclear. Biden says he stood at Ground Zero the day after 9/11, according to all available evidence. Then U.S. Senator Joe Biden was in Washington, D.C. on September 12th. So there's a clip of him making a speech on December 12th. So they're like, well, did you really fly over there and fly back? Do you have any type of proof of that? But as you can see, it says according to all available evidence. That means you don't know. That means it shouldn't be a false. So what does that really mean? That this corporate Democrat machine fact-checking outlet is going at him. The memo's been out. Cenk Uygur, Nina Turner, and many others, they're going heads up at Joe Biden. They all know, a lot of times I joke about the memos out. They don't send a memo out. You just know in corporate America, if you're going to rise in the ranks, you can kind of smell the winds of change coming. And Joe Biden's diaper, that smells coming out of the White House, and you're smelling something else, which is the smell of opportunity for Big Mike or Kamala or Newsom or Mayor Booty Juice. It's somebody else. There's no other signs you need to see other than people throwing this dude right under the bus. Obviously, this fact check is wrong, and because they don't have you can't call it false if you don't have the receipts. They said right up front in the headline, the meta description under the headline, that's a funny way of saying you don't have the receipts. Do I think he was there? No, I don't, but I can't say it's false. So what does that mean? Joe, I think you need to start listening to these people, because they escalate things real quick. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought charges on him. And the GOP strategy is to impeach him. The corporate Democrat machine is like, oh no, don't impeach Joe. Whatever shall we do? It's just the stupidest thing. And I'm starting to lose confidence in the MAGA members of the House if they can't see this. Obvious. Maybe they're part of it too. I'm going to be like Ray Studios. Maybe all y'all are controlled opposition. And I'm being serious. You can't see that the impeachment of Joe Biden is just a way to cover for a continuing resolution to continue to fund Jack Smith, all the nonsense that's happening in our country, and of course, the sunflower country, literal Nazis over there funding them. So we'll probably do a little bit of impeachment talk to kind of get street cred with some of you MAGA idiots. That's what they must think we are. Impeaching him? You think that's for what? Prop him up. What do you mean to impeach him? If you can't beat him, you can't beat anybody. You think you have a better chance of beating Gavin Newsom than him? Are you crazy? You're worried about, of course, we haven't hashed out 2020. I don't trust the process. That's the same case under Gavin Newsom. I probably trusted less under Gavin Newsom. He's younger. He's more savage. He'll be able to organize potentially and do all that better. So that's three things. But wait, the infomercial's not done. There's more on 9/11, what Joe Biden did. This bruh did a $6 billion prisoner swap. Let me look at the date. Did that really happen on 9/11? Let me take a look here. Biden administration has facilitated the release of 5 American citizens who were detained in Iran. We're going to get to that pronunciation in a second. Every time I say the word Iran, I want to pronounce it Iran. And I'll tell you why in a second. Going back, we're going to take a trip down memory lane in a second. So everything that I see, U.S. clears way for release. And I want to bring people home. I didn't even remember or know there were 5 people there. It's not like the Brittany Griner where she's such a big celebrity. It's too bad, but that's just how life works. This article was updated on September 11th. I don't know why you would want this news to come out on September 11th. This was achieved by allowing international banks to transfer $6 billion of frozen Iranian money from South Korea to Qatar. I've heard people say Qatar or Qatar. I've always pronounced it Qatar my whole life. Without the threat of U.S. sanctions. As a part of this agreement, the U.S. will also release 5 Iranian citizens who are currently detained in the United States on 9/11. Secretary of State Tony Blinken approved the sanctions waivers recently following an agreement in principle between U.S. and Iranian officials. Congress is only informed about this waiver decision recently. That's fine. That's an executive branch decision, so he didn't even have to tell him, did he? The waiver allows European, Middle Eastern, and Asian banks to avoid U.S. sanctions when converting frozen money in South Korea and transferring it to the bank. Criticism and response. The decision has faced criticism, especially from Republicans who believe this move will strengthen the Iranian economy when Iran is seen as a growing threat to U.S. interests and allies in the Middle East. I mean, $6 billion doesn't hurt. Senators Chuck Grassley, Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz have expressed their concerns and criticisms on platforms like on X. Where else would you do it? Facebook? The White House defended the decision, saying that it was a procedural step to fulfill an agreement made with Iran in August. There's always some type of stupid spin on everything. Details of the release: 4 of the 5 American detainees. Let me make sure I source this one. It's from the AP News article. So from the detainees, 4 of the 5 American detainees were moved from Iranian jails to house arrest last month, while the 5th was already under house arrest. The American prisoners, their names there, identities of the 4th and 5th were not disclosed. So that's basically the details there. Let me see what quotes we might have. Chuck Grassley said it's ridiculous for the U.S. to be blackmailed into paying $6 billion for hostages, which will help indirectly finance the #1 foreign policy of Iran, terrorism. And I'm not an expert in that. I don't have a take on that. I believe American citizens came home, right? Why am I not remembering American prisoners? Hey, that's the American. 4 of the 5 American detainees were removed from Iranian jails to house arrest last month, while the 5th was already under house arrest. So I guess we're getting them back. I don't know if they're good people or not, but assuming that there's nothing nefarious going on, I am in favor in America's with Americans coming home. But you see the criticism there. So let's recap Joe Biden's day on 9/11. He did not visit the Twin Towers site. He did do a speech in which he started off joking about football himself again. Adrian Watson praised the Saudis. He lied about being at ground zero the day after. And they did a prisoner swap in which they gave $6 billion to Iran. Other than that, it was a wonderful 9/11 for him. I'm going to leave the topic of 9/11 out on a good note. I think it's a good note. Jon Stewart, one of my favorite speeches of all time, was him defending the 9/11 first responders. Chaotic Good says, in memoriam of 9/11, I ask everyone to turn your attention to Jon Stewart for a moment. He has had an ongoing knockdown, drag-out style fight to help with the 9/11 first responders and their families. This is done now. He's done the fight twice at this point. Get the adequate benefits they are entitled to for their selfless and courageous service to our country. Please support these brave men and women and get behind John. And this is the speech, one of my favorite speeches of all time. I put it up there with any political speech I've ever heard.
I want to thank Mr. Collins and Mr. Nadler for putting this together, but as I sit here today, I can't help but think what an incredible metaphor this room is for the entire process that getting health care and benefits for 9/11 first responders has come to. Behind me, a filled room of 9/11 first responders, and in front of me, a nearly empty Congress. Sick and dying They brought themselves down here to speak to no one. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for those that aren't here, but you won't be. Because accountability doesn't appear to be something that occurs in this chamber. We don't want to be here. Lou doesn't want to be here. None of these people want to be here. But they are, and they're not here for themselves. They're here to continue fighting for what's right. Lou's going to go back for his 69th chemo. The great Ray Pfeiffer would come down here, his body riddled with cancer and pain, where he couldn't walk. And the disrespect shown to him and to the other lobbyists on this bill is utterly unacceptable. You know, I would be so angry at the latest injustice that's done to these men and women, and you know, another business card thrown our way as a way of shooing us away, like children trick-or-treating, rather than the heroes that they are and will always be. Ray would say, "Calm down, Johnny, calm down. I got all the cards I need." And he would tap his pocket. Where he kept the prayer cards. 343 firefighters. The official FDNY response time to 9/11 was 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That's how long it took for FDNY, for NYPD, for Port Authority, for EMS to respond to an urgent need from the public. 5 seconds. Hundreds died in an instant. Thousands more poured in to continue to fight for their brothers and sisters. The breathing problem started almost immediately, and they were told they weren't sick, they were crazy. And then, as the illnesses got worse and things became more apparent, well, okay, you're sick, but it's not from the pile. And then, when the science became irrefutable, okay, it's the pile. But this is a New York issue. I don't know if we have the money. And I'm sorry if I sound angry and undiplomatic, but I'm angry. And you should be too, and they're all angry as well. And they have every justification to be that way. There is not a person here, there is not an empty chair on that stage that didn't tweet out, "Never forget the heroes of 9/11. Never forget their bravery. Never forget what they did, what they gave to this country." Well, here they are. And where are they? And it would be one thing if their callous indifference and rank hypocrisy were benign, but it's not. Your indifference cost these men and women their most valuable commodity, time. It's the one thing they're running out of. This should be flipped. This hearing should be flipped. These men and women should be up on that stage, and Congress should be down here answering their questions as to why this is so damn hard and takes so damn long. and why no matter what they get, something's always pulled back, and they got to come back. Mr. Johnson, you made a point earlier, and it was one that we have heard over and over again in these halls, and I couldn't help but to answer to it, which was, you said, look, you know, you guys are obviously heroes, and 9/11 was a big deal, but, you know, we have a lot of stuff here to do, and, you know, we got to make sure there's money for a variety of disasters, hurricanes and tornadoes, but this wasn't a hurricane, and this wasn't a tornado, and by the way, that's your job anyway. We can't fund these programs, you can. Setting aside that no American in this country should face financial ruin because of a health issue. Certainly 9/11 first responders shouldn't have to decide whether to live or to have a place to live. And the idea that you can only give them 5 more years of the VCF because you're not quite sure what's going to happen 5 years from now, well, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen 5 years from now. More of these men and women are going to get sick, and they are going to die. And I am awfully tired of hearing that it's a 9/11 New York issue. Al-Qaeda didn't shout death to Tribeca. They attacked America, and these men and women, and their response to it is what brought our country back. It's what gave a reeling nation a solid foundation to stand back upon, to remind us of why this country is great, of why this country is worth fighting for, and you are ignoring them. And you can end it tomorrow. Why this bill isn't unanimous consent and a standalone issue is beyond my comprehension. And I have yet to hear a reasonable explanation for why. It'll get stuck in some transportation bill or some appropriations bill and get sent over to the Senate, where a certain someone from the Senate will use it as a political football to get themselves maybe another new import tax on petroleum, because that's what happened to us in 2015. And we won't allow it to happen again. Thank God for people like John Field. Thank God for people like Ray Pfeiffer. Thank God for all of these people who will not let it happen. They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours. Thank you.
Yeah, you can say what you want about that speech, and I do appreciate this. Jairus says he'll never get a lick of my respect. I assume he's talking about Jon Stewart. I don't blame you for this take. F him with a, let's see, kind of graphic there. I'll let that speak for itself on the screen. He's basically saying F him. He can do this because he's on the left. No one gets in trouble on the left anymore. He shouldn't get in trouble, but we shouldn't get in trouble, but we do. And everything you said there, Jairus, is true. But I don't want excuses. You need, what this speech was, is a great example of how to enact change in our system. MAGA can learn from this speech, and not just the speech, the strategy that Jon Stewart did. This was like, I don't know, 2 years ago, I was trying to plan to do a video just on Jon Stewart and like lay out everything he did to get them the bill passed. Not twice. He did it twice, I think, at least twice. I know of the 2 times. Because I was like, dang, Jon Stewart's back again. That's when I wanted to do the video. Like, he knows what to do. MAGA can learn from this. People who want reparations can learn from this. Populist left can learn from this. Anybody who wants something done can learn from this. Doesn't matter if I'm for the thing you want done or not. He laid out the blueprint of how to get it done. We talked about Patrick Henry in one of the recent lives when that Trump or death sign came out. Patrick Henry was the one who coined the phrase, "Give me liberty or give me death." And he was a founding father, and his role was mostly as an orator. Who's the MAGA orator? I know you say, yep, we will get in trouble. Yeah, that's true. But, and Trump's great, don't get me wrong. Tucker's not really MAGA, but he's great, MAGA friendly. Kerry Lake's good. But I think you need somebody. That's why I keep telling the populist left, you don't have the person. To me, the closest one is Jimmy Dore, and even he has significant problems because he's still in that race stuff. It can't be anybody talking about race. And Jon Stewart is that race type of dude, but he wasn't doing it here. He didn't talk any race here with this topic to get that through. So maybe it could be Jimmy Dore because Jimmy doesn't really bring up race like that unless he's trying to talk to somebody else who does, for the most part. That's the lesson, Jairus. Where's the orator? Words matter. They still do. If they didn't matter, they wouldn't be censoring people on YouTube. They wouldn't be censoring people on X. They wouldn't be censoring people all over the internet if words didn't matter, if speeches didn't matter, if they weren't concerned about somebody's voice getting out to a lot of people, whether it's Kerry Lake or whoever else. Imagine if Kerry Lake was on MSNBC and getting that practice in that environment. I know she's a news anchor, but she hasn't got the opportunity. She's been on Fox News that one time and had to go heads up with Bret Baier. She hasn't had an opportunity to get exposure out there like a Nancy Pelosi who's always on there or whoever they got on there now. And I think you would see people like, oh, shoot. Like when I dig in and really started listening to Steve Bannon around 2017-ish or something like that, and then gradually up until the pandemic, really kind of appreciating him and finding out like, damn, that's not the dude they say, Nick Fuentes. He's not the dude they portray him to be. And I found that out real quick within probably a week or two after listening to his lives. That happened just 2 years ago. I'm like, everybody keep talking about this 24-year-old. This dude who's 23 years old, he's like 90 pounds soaking wet. What the hell? And I'm listening to him like, oh, I see why. The dude's very bright. And he doesn't say what you want him to say. So even he's not the right, well, he might be the right orator, but he's being throttled. But I think the right orator would be able to cut through. Vivek's trying, he's not the right one. Dr. Shiva Dore would be able to register with people, but he's held back. But my end on that, Jairus, is I don't want any excuses. Let's find the right person and get it done. Peacefully. It's going to have to be a different tactic. I don't know if you saw this. This transitions very well from the topic of Jairus. Was they went up, they rolled up in Kevin McCarthy's office. This is via Greg Price on Twitter, on X. Greg Price is a ex-beast, one of the most influential people just from using the app and retweeting videos and stuff like that. This is what Jairus is talking about. They can get away with this, but a MAGA, you get handcuffs, you get 22 years or something for this. They're insufferable. But you're right, Jairus. They can do it, and life ain't fair. So we've got to figure it out. To me, the effort should be put into secession, but I don't know. I don't have all the answers. Maybe somebody has a better plan. I haven't heard it. If we're going to put effort into something, then I think it's got to be in that. I don't know what else you're trying to put effort in to feeding this beast of this machine. I had a story. I don't know if I'm going to get to all this because I want to cut it and then try to get some editing done. But I had a story on here about which state did something. Minnesota. Minnesota did, they're letting illegal immigrants get driver license now. Like every day there's something new. New Mexico suspends the Second Amendment in the whole damn state. And there's nuances to that, but the governor executive orders for the whole state of New Mexico. Just out of the blue. We had Michigan with the hate speech bill. New York tried to do the hate speech bill. I think that is held under injunction. The bill from which it was Illinois, Governor Pritzker, however you pronounce his name, Pritzker. The governor of Illinois, rich dude, big fat rich dude, and his legislative body passed that legislation to allow DACA recipients to become police officers. I'll talk about that next here. But this protest was in Kevin McCarthy's office. In Kevin McCarthy's office, they came in there and they sat. Several activists entered the office of Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, demanding reauthorization of the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief. Several people were arrested after entering. So I have different, one story says 6, other stories say 7. I don't know how many people, but it was about that many people who were arrested. For the context of this, it's been caught up in the negotiations over the government shutdown. I believe they have until the end of September. So they don't have time to do a full appropriations bill. They're going to do a continuing resolution. It's just a matter of what's going to be in it, what's not. Rep. Chris Smith, who was a co-sponsor of the 2018 bill for this PEPFAR, now seeks to block its renewal after Biden lifted restrictions. The Heritage Foundation accused Biden of using this thing to promote radical social agenda overseas. I'm not an expert on this bill. I'm just reading the news on it just to tell you the context of why they're in his office. And you can go down the rabbit hole to find out what PEPFAR is. I actually don't really care. Maybe I will another day. But just to show you, they run up in the office, and just like Jairus said, ain't nothing. Well, they got arrested, but they'll probably be out. They'll probably break them off some money or something. Like, hey, sorry that we had to rough you up or something on the way out. I mean, that is what happened locally in Illinois, Minnesota, Colorado recently. They broke off the protesters, like broke off government tax money. Took your tax money. I don't think that's going to happen here, but who knows? I talked about the DACA. Why am I bringing that up? The reason I'm bringing that up is because it's more evidence that states have already seceded from the union. So when I talk about secession, you damn sure shouldn't be looking at me as some radical. I talked about this from the standpoint of community notes. So let me reset this. It wasn't really about the DACA stuff. It was about community notes, but I'll reset this real quick. I said community notes is a glaring failure with respect to information clarity. That's the whole point of it, really. Context, information clarity. It's a failure now. I used to be pretty big. I used to be like, yeah, this is pretty good. Now it's become manipulated. It's terrible. It's time we address its shortcoming. This is from middlemaga.com. Especially when it comes to critical topics that demand precision. I want precision. And that's what I'm trying to do on X is like, if you want to talk about something, let's talk about it precisely. Me looking at another community notes fail. Which fail is it? Take, for instance, Rep. Mary Miller's post about a bill signed by Pritzker. I cannot pronounce that name. Pritzker, allowing immigrants to become police officers. Her statement was clear, direct, and accurate. There's some opinion in there, but the facts were accurate. She said, as of 5 p.m. yesterday, this was it was like a couple months ago. At 5 p.m. yesterday, when no one was paying attention, Pritzker signed a bill to allow illegal immigrants to become police officers. That is true. Fact check, true. Fact. It's not opinion, that's a fact. Pritzker signed a bill to allow illegal immigrants to become police officers. End period. That's a fact. And you could see Twitter community notes isn't a fact check. It's like, okay, it might be a fact, but let me give you context. It's almost like saying, hey, I look outside, I see a cloud that's purple, orange, and blue. How did that happen? And, or you just say it. The community notes can say, well, that's typical during sunset or sunrise. Giving non-citizens the power to arrest citizens in our state. That is a fact. No saying this is opinion. No saying, a lot of people don't even know the difference between the two things. No sane state would allow foreign nationals to arrest their citizens. It pretty much sounds like a fact, but it is opinion. This is madness. So on that tweet, they put a fact check. They said the bill mentioned allows immigrants legally working under U.S. federal law to apply to become a police officer or sheriff under certain requirements and pre-approval. That is a bullshit community notes. It shouldn't be there. I shouldn't have to rate this note as not helpful. That is terrible. That is a terrible community note. I'll repeat it again. It's talking about the bill. It's saying that the bill allows immigrants who are legally working under U.S. federal law. That is factually true. But what does that have to do with what she said? That they're legally working. She didn't say they were illegally working. She said that they were illegal immigrants. She never said they were, the only reason they're legally working is because of DACA. So the community notes decided to chime in with this bullshit clarification on this bill, stating that it allows immigrants legally working to apply for police roles. I called it a gross oversimplification. If you're looking at the two facts, which fact do I want to see? This fact is hiding a more important context than the first one. Just because it's true doesn't mean it needs a community notes. It's not working. The community notes glossed over a vital detail regarding this bill. The bill would permit those under DACA to become police officers. I have the receipts here directly from the bill. Many DACA recipients entered the U.S. without inspection. That's the proper way to say it because you don't know if they're illegal or not. Most of them are probably illegal, but you could hide behind asylum or something else. So I said potentially illegally. So her statement is absolutely factual. It would allow illegal immigrants to become police officers. And they are non-citizens, giving non-citizens the power to arrest citizens in our state. That's the key core of her ire, and there doesn't need to be any addition to it. And the reason I'm bringing that up is, why would a state, there's a bunch of states doing this. California's doing it. How many states now? Is it 19? I don't know. Let me not throw out a number. But it's not just one state that's doing this. Allowing illegal immigrants to arrest legal citizens. That's an act of secession. Period. Suspending the Second Amendment in your whole state is an act of secession. Period. Especially when the federal government's not investigating. They haven't talked about it. Talked about investigating. I mean, they don't talk about investigations, but they haven't made any type of noise about it. These are states who have left the union and are teaming up together to dominate the federal government, taking the tax dollars of the ignoramuses, other states that aren't doing anything, to use that money against them. They're taking tax dollars from you and I to fund Jack Smith to go after you and I. And people in the chat don't. But if somebody goes, I will get triggered. If you don't agree with secession, that's fine. If you come at me like it's some radical idea, that will trigger me. That was my whole point of just going over that. Barton Bella says, I mean, they give you the sources and articles for further information. But my problem is that what is the point of the note? What's the point of the community note was not needed. It's cloudy. So here's my thing. Why wasn't it just a reply to her tweet? It's like a scarlet, like just getting a community note on a politician. It's almost like a scarlet letter. And I'm a fool now. Back when Biden got community noted, I was like, "Ooh, look, he got community noted." Now they're doing it on stupid stuff. So I have to take that back. It was just dumb. I don't like it. I say I don't want it at all. You can have a community note account as long as you don't amplify it or artificially with the algorithm. It can reply to her. It doesn't need to be like a scarlet letter like, "Hey, I got community noted." Why? Why can't it just be a reply underneath her and you just a regular account? It's just from a Twitter employee. You could have put the same context in the tweet. Why is it on sticks? Why is it a sticker on a politician highlighting a legit issue? That's election interference. That's an interference in politics. It's disgusting. Doesn't need to be there. Has to stop. At least that's just my opinion. I don't like it at all. It's too biased. We've seen the team DeSantis using it as a weapon. And I don't blame them. We're in digital warfare here. The memesters are going hard at DeSantis, calling him Booger Bob. I don't blame you trying to get some action in there. But yeah, my other suggestion is, okay, if you're going to put a scarlet letter on the tweet, allow the original poster to have a reply. Allow them to have one reply, and then you end it. So you have the original post. Because if I had tweeted that and then they community note, they only community note these high value, high 1 million view type posts. That's the other thing. It's only on certain posts. So if they had community noted me, I would have appreciated an ability to go into the community note and say, what the hell was the point of that? You didn't refute anything I stated. Your context of it, I never said it was illegal employees. So what's the point of your context? It's almost like saying, oh, by the way, the sky is blue. Like, I don't need that. And so I at least would have had a chance to reply to it and maybe clown them or do something like that. And then you lock it down. But I don't like it at all. Oh, I agree, Barton. I don't have any problem with, I never had a problem with, I actually say the DeSantis team didn't go hard enough. That they didn't go hard enough. They didn't back it up. And that goes to DeSantis. Barton Bella, if you don't know, friend of the show, thank you as always for joining, is pro DeSantis. And my feedback for Christina Pushaw and all of them was, I think y'all didn't go hard enough. That's a different take than a lot of people didn't like how they went. But when you released that LGBTQ video tying Trump to the LGBTQ, and people gave you feedback about it being bad, your head honcho didn't double down on it. And that was when he hung you out to dry. There was no lies in that famous, I don't think you can even find it anymore, not on X. I think they took it down. There were no lies detected in that video. I have no idea why I don't know if they took it down, but it was, I think DeSantis War Room retweeted it or something like that. It was a while ago. DeSantis, somebody probably clipped it and then re-uploaded it. And they were tying Trump to the identity. I hate when Trump does that. The blacks for Trump. They didn't put blacks for Trump in there, but Trump talks about the gays for Trump or whatever. That stuff, I don't need that. I think it was legitimate criticism. They didn't stand on it. So you kind of retweet the video, you get flack for it, you don't stand on it, now you just kind of hurt multiple ways. And then either that, Barton, or you just stay above board. If your candidate's trying to be some type of fake, I don't know, Gary Johnson type who's just above board, then stay above board. Don't even do those videos. If you can't stand on it, don't do it. Be above board. Be like, and if you're above board, you say, I love MAGA. I got no beef with MAGA. I'm not trying to, I know MAGA's coming at me. I don't blame y'all. I love y'all. Why didn't he do that? He has no political instincts. Just get me on that rant on him. It's just one of the worst, and this is on him. One of the worst campaigns I've ever seen run. None of it makes any sense. If you're going to be above board like a holier than thou, then be that. Don't be this halfway, half-stepping, like I'm going to do the AI pictures of Fauci, which I had no problem with, but then I'm above board and I don't back it up and I don't acknowledge it. If you're going to do the AI pictures of Fauci, then own it and be like, why were you so worried about it? Because Trump did nothing but figuratively hug and kiss that dude. Well, how does it change the narrative? Own it. Don't ignore it. He just ignores everything. I don't like it. Then it makes you untrustworthy and inauthentic. He was in no man's land. His campaign, just a disgusting campaign, terrible campaign. Decide what you are and stick to it. And don't go, and then you have your surrogates on there fighting with Trump supporters. Either you're above board or you're not. If I was going to do that above board play, I would tell all my surrogates, if you go and fight any of those memesters, I will fight you. You can't do that because you're above board, but I'll just drop you, or I will just completely ignore you or freeze you out, or however you can do it in your political way. My campaign's above board. If your reply to them isn't, it was funny, I love you, sorry that we're like this on the, staying above board. If you can't do that, John Cardillo and all y'all, stay the hell away from me. Either be John Cardillo and get into the mud and the ring like they used to do the mud wrestling, or get up out of there. You're in no man's land. You as the candidate are above board, boring, Jeb Bush, and then your surrogates are like, literally, remember the story that they were going to throw hands? Literally about to throw hands, or they didn't end up doing it, I don't think, but Gavin Wax or whatever his name is, literally, they were like, when I see you, I'm going to throw hands on you, literally. How does that match? Like, there's no Trump, basically Trump's persona is that let's get into the mud. So it all fit. It's frustrating because I like DeSantis. It's just really frustrating. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what the strategy was. Who is he listening to? I don't know what's going on with that. Jairus says, I'm Trump or die in this motherfucker, but I still enjoy watching. Yeah, I'm not against Trump, so I'll challenge Trump or anybody else, but I'm definitely more pro-Trump than DeSantis, that's for sure. Jairus says, Yakarina will slowly start the shadow banning and suspensions. It will accelerate the more the ADL goes after Musk. Let me think about that. I think I could be wrong here, but my view on Linda is Linda's kind of representing. Linda literally represents the World Economic Forum, and I think she's just sitting back watching Elon go at it with the ADL. I don't know if she really cares. I think they both answer to her. I don't think she cares at all. Elon Musk answers to Linda Yaccarino. I stand on that. People were coming at me and saying, well, how does Elon owns the company? How is he answering to the CEO? If the CEO of the company is an active member of the World Economic Forum, whoever owns the company is answering to them. If you own a company, why would you hire somebody who's with the World Economic Forum if you want to have control? Do you think I would have, just think about it from like my YouTube right here. Why would I hire somebody to help me run my YouTube channel that works for the World Economic Forum? How would that, if that wouldn't work for me, why would that work for Elon? This is not rocket science. Elon works for them, or is working in conjunction with them, but I think he works for them if you saw the tension that they had. So my take on it is Linda's just kind of like, you remember like in Transformers back in the day, it was Megatron would watch like Starscream fight with whoever, I forget the names of all the guys, but or kind of like Turtles where the Rhino and the pig guy would fight or something like, you know what I mean? It's like you're the boss, you're the bad guy boss, and you're watching the two henchmen fight. And you're kind of laughing. You're Linda Yaccarino's like Jabba the Hutt watching like two bad guys fight, and you're the king. It's like Darth Vader watching two bad guys fighting. Darth Vader's not worried about them coming for Linda Yaccarino's not worried about the ADL coming for her. The ADL is nothing compared to her or the people she represents, as long as she represents them. Linda Yaccarino has no concerns about the ADL. None. The ADL is fighting Elon Musk. Elon Musk by himself has become an entity as powerful as anybody else, as any country. The reason why the Biden administration and the Democrats and maybe CIA and stuff go after Elon is because they're worried about Elon becoming too powerful. Elon can become more powerful than them. He's the one running all the super companies. If Elon Musk leaves SpaceX, SpaceX ain't going to be SpaceX. So unless you try to eliminate the person, God forbid. Well, remember his mom was talking about that. Elon Musk allegedly prevented World War III. So Elon Musk is rising in the ranks. He's under the World Economic Forum, though. He's rising in the ranks. And the ADL is like, wait a second, we're becoming irrelevant. Biden is even like, wait a second, he's becoming more powerful than we are. So they're all fighting. That's how I look at it. He's not fighting for you. There's not Elon's fighting for Elon. Let's get that straight. Actually, I can segue into, I do have an Elon summary prepared of the article here. There's a book coming out with Elon Musk. The reason why I was interested in this, believe it or not, you might think, hey, you're a longtime Elon fan. You're going to do a channel, if you don't know, a channel just on Tesla and I still have the channel up. I just haven't uploaded in a while because I'm stuck in this I'm stuck talking about naked Virginia state senators prancing around on Chatterbait. So I'm stuck in this toxicity and I'm not doing the tech stuff as much. But so why would I want to listen to or read the Elon bio and all that kind of stuff? I was kind of interested in the Amber Heard segment. I haven't heard much about Elon and Amber Heard. Amber Heard's probably one of the most attractive women I've ever seen. Just curious. I wasn't even curious about the SpaceX or the Tesla and all that. How time changes. Here's a summary of the article. This article is from, I forgot, New York Mag. I apologize. I forget who did this article. But it's a summary from New York Mag or New York Times. I believe it was New York Times. Walter Isaacson's biography titled Elon Musk digs into the life of the corporate executive who runs Tesla, SpaceX, and the company formerly known as Twitter. He's described as tormented. None of this is surprising. Erratic and rude. I would like to add in there, separate from this, is I think he's godless. So that's a problem. He doesn't have a moral foundation. His moods are described as cycling through light and dark, intense and goofy, detached and emotional. Sounds like the guy we expect. With occasional plunges into what people around him call demon mode. I think a lot of these successful people all have that mode. They're usually very gregarious, kind of sociopath, psychopath, gregarious, competitive, very, very demanding. He's also described as childlike, almost stunted, a drama magnet, and not bred for domestic tranquility. Elon Musk, I think there's a thin line. I think he's probably equally as flawed as Ye. There's a thin line between brilliance and insanity. And that's where Ye, I always go to Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all these people. Elon Musk. Mozart, Amadeus Mozart, Napoleon, all these people. Musk's relationship with his father is in there. I wasn't that interested in that. It is an interesting story, but that's not really what I wanted to cover here. His professional life and controversies. Let me see if I find Musk's involvement in the Russia-Ukrainian war in March 2022 is highlighted. He offered Starlink satellite internet services to the Ukrainian government. That's a powerful dude. There's no one else on the planet that could have offered internet to Ukraine during a war. So the ADL is like nothing compared to him. ADL couldn't do that. The ADL has nothing to offer other than pressure, cancel culture, that type of thing. Keeping blacks in line, that type of thing. Just the little things in life. Just the small things in life, like keeping black people in line, making sure that you go on the Breakfast Club and make sure that Charlemagne the God basically adheres to your narrative of intersectionality. That Van Jones basically gets on his knees and apologizes to your community. Pretty big. That's a pretty big thing, though. Without the blacks, then you don't have the Democrat Party doesn't exist with power. However, he later secretly instructed his engineers to turn off coverage near the Crimean coast, seemingly acting on a warning from the Russian ambassador. I have to unpack that. Elon, he presents it differently than that, but that's just how the article does it. His relationships with other notable figures, one of Aquaman 2 fame. Musk's tumultuous relationship with actor Amber Heard is detailed. Heard is said to have drew Musk into a dark vortex. People just blame her for everything. In 2017, causing deep-seated pain that still lingers. His friends and family reportedly disliked her. He's a grown-ass man. She's very attractive. You fell into that. And whatever comes from it, comes from it. I'm not here to be like she dragged him into darkness. What the kind of stuff is that? You're a grown-ass man. Maybe she wasn't good for you, but I don't like that framing. Musk's interactions with other tech giants, such as Larry Page and Bill Gates, are mentioned. Musk and Page disagreed on the potential dangers of artificial intelligence. Yeah, I'm not going to get sidetracked into that, but it really comes down to they're worried about common people. They're worried about you and I getting AI. Musk also had a disagreement with Gates regarding the priorities of their respective companies. That was some serious beef they had. There's a mention of the Emerald Mine affair, where critics accused Musk of benefiting from his father's emerald mines. I debunked that in a video from a long time ago. Here's some quotes from the article. Elon Musk's email to Elon: Joe Biden, a freak, criminal, PD president, and that in South Africa with no whites here, the blacks will go back to the trees. That's allegedly from Elon Musk's father. Elon to his first wife, Justine: I'm the elf in this relationship. Well, sometimes you do have to tell your wife that in certain aspects. Isaacson on Musk's behavior: do the audaciousness and hubris that drive him to attempt epic feats excuse his bad behavior, his callousness and recklessness? The times he's an a-hole, basically. The answer is no, of course not. I don't know about that. Bill Gates on Musk's Mars obsession. This is probably this next biggest thing. I want to see that. If you don't have that theme, then you're not capturing Elon. That's the underlining theme, not his personality, not all that. It's Mars. He's overboard on Mars. It's this crazy thing where maybe there's a nuclear war on Earth, and so the people on Mars will return and restore humanity. And that's part of it long term, but I think he's very, people in the SpaceX community disagree with me on this, but I think the big intermediate concern or attempt is to launch a rocket into space that can land on an asteroid and mine rare minerals. It's very difficult to do. You have to put a payload on the space. So I think that's what they're really practicing for to do. And I don't know if he has the robots to do that yet. I know he has Boring Company and all that. Those would be very heavy. I don't know if he could put those in space, but I think that's where he's getting to. It would be all robotic. I don't think they've solved the radiation. I don't think they can put people on an asteroid right now. I don't think they can put people on the moon right now. I think it's more Tesla bot, Boring Company, remote control, mine minerals. I think he could get that done. I think he could get that done by 2030. Being able to put something on there with some type of robotics, whether it's a Land Rover or something else that will mine rare minerals, bring them back, and now you've got a trillionaire deity, basically, as far as he can do whatever he wants. That's what I think he really wants. So that's the end on that. Oh, thanks. Still 10 people on the YouTube. Let's look at Rumble, see if anybody's still hanging. Cyan, maybe still there. 9 watching on Rumble. Appreciate you on Rumble. Watching to the end. But that's I think that's a good amount. I always have more because I clip a lot of stories. And I think I'm going to be out. It's a 1 a.m. Mountain. I'm just looking through my stories. Oh, I didn't cover the spanking. Let me cover the spanking. How about that? How could you miss this a wild day when you forget about the spanking? That I do want to cover the spanking. I know because that's a story that I'm not going to cover. If I don't cover it tonight, I'm not coming back to the spanking. What do I mean by spanking? This is summarized via libs of TikTok. And let's take a look at the video here, and then let's go. So let me go into some of the story here. The mayor raged. I didn't even know what happened here, so let me get sidetracked. I just had the story. I was not able to see a back and forth on Twitter, but Shaya Rychek, who is Libs of TikTok, basically said, great body. What is that? Oh, great body count debate. Off topic. Shaya Rychek says, I'm still not over the fact that I had a lengthy Twitter argument with the mayor of Burbank on whether or not children were present at his public spanking, which was captured on video. I keep thinking about it and cracking up. How is this real life? I don't know. But in the video, I didn't see children. So that is a pretty important thing. It is news whether children are there or not, but her post on it accused of children of being there. So that's important if you're going to do that. Okay, so here it is. Breaking footage shows mayor of Burbank, California, getting a spanking from a drag queen. And I told you the Democrats were lit. You got blow. You got, Hunter got the blow and the hookers. You got the blow. You got the hookers. You've got the standing on your head twerking. You've got the Susanna Gibson chatterbait. You got mayor of Burbank getting spanked by a drag queen. You got Katie Hill. Man, they got it going on over there in the Democrat Party. Whatever floats your boat, they got you. So let's see what happens here. She called him Mayor Spanky. No wonder he raged. Wow, here's Mayor Spanky, the mayor of Burbank. She's bringing it up again. Just for context, who received a spanking from a drag queen at an event that was open to children. Okay, that's a different verbiage from what I saw before. Open to children is different than children being there. Defending books like Gender Queer in schools. Yeah, that's a terrible book. Saying it isn't sexualized or graphic. So let's play this clip. I might not play the whole thing, but I haven't seen this yet.
When you say sexualized, I'm sorry, Ani. When you say sexualized gender ideology, do you mean it's simply a book that has a gay person in it?
No,
No.
I don't.
Okay.
There's gender ideology and there's also sexualized content in our
What
library.
does that mean? Sexual? Someone kissing
Have you
someone?
read Gender Queer? Have you read Gender
I
Queer?
have read Gender Queer. It's just
You
got
don't
some...
find that you don't find that to be sexualized?
No.
Showing how to give oral sex in graphic format?
It's not graphic. Come on.
I'm happy to send you screenshots.
I've seen the screenshots.
Yeah, I don't know if he has seen it. I don't know if I believe that, let's just say. But there you go, defending the indefensible. Video and link to the full story. Let's take a look at the spanking here. Let's go. The Democrats lit, boy. Let's go. Macho. That's not really too macho, but hey, do what you do. If you're just listening, it's the mayor of Burbank bent over a chair. This is the world we're in. Bent over a chair, getting spanked with a paddle by a drag queen. Welcome to 2023. I don't know what you want me to do. And let's take a look here. Let's look at the story because I did have that. I'll have to later on look and see what the back and forth was. That's why I said Twitter needs to have a beef option. They need to use, in all seriousness, they need to use AI better. You should be able to search just on memes. AI can see what a meme is easily. A lot of them are probably using AI to make those simple memes. Not the Dilly team, they do that. Well, they use AI to make them, but not everything. Some people just use for the picture memes. AI will just make them for you now. But you should be able to search on memes. You should be able to say, put in two people's screen, or you know how there's a quote. You should be able to click on it and say history of beef or something like that. You really should be able to do that. But there's right now, if you can curate and tell people what happened, then that will help. So I might do an article to because I want to see what happened, like what started the beef, what was it, and then do a whole article on it. People will go there because there's no good way to see it. I did that when they were about to have that fight, throw hands with Gavin Wax or whatever his name is. It Gavin Wax or Wax? And I forgot the other dude. Mayor of Burbank's controversial appearance at drag-themed fundraiser. The details. The event was a drag-themed fundraiser for a Democratic Senate candidate in California. Who is that? Democratic Senate or state senator? Because you're talking about, at that point, you're talking about, what's her name? Katie Porter. And Katie Porter's running for Senate in California. I believe Adam Schiff is. I don't know if it's official. I think it is. Burbank City Mayor Constantine Anthony was present and participated in the event. I'd say he participated. Quote, at a drag, it's been revenge of the drag, man. The drag queens they ruling this country now, man. It's almost like you have to pay homage to the drag queen and spanking. How better to do it other than getting your ass spanked by one that's probably a good 4 inches taller than you. I mean, they were wearing platforms, but at a drag-themed fundraiser for a Democratic Senate candidate in California, Burbank, city mayor got spanked by a drag queen. The event was noted to have had children present. That sounds questionable when a later tweet she said open to children, so I don't know if she can confirm that or not. There are photos from the fundraiser where at least one child is visible. I did not see that. Let me just double check real quick. Maybe I missed it because I'm just trying to get through these articles real quick, and this isn't my biggest story. Let me see. Okay, where at least one child. Feel free. Here's the actual story from go to libsoftiktok.com. Looks like it's a Substack is what it connects to. And here's pictures. Let's see. Do we have a child here? I don't know if I can see it. I'll have to search that. I didn't see a child. I don't know what I'm missing here. So that was the event. That's what happened there. They claimed that a child was present in a picture. I cannot confirm that. I did not see it. Mayor's previous controversies. The same mayor has previously approved of the lewd book Gender Queer, so that. Events age restrictions. The drag queen who performed at the event posted about it on Instagram, mentioning that the event was open for ages 15 plus. Okay, so that showed it's open to children. So he got spanked. That seems to be pretty factual. I have not independently confirmed that Instagram post, but I think I've seen it floating around that the mayor of Burbank got spanked by a drag queen at an event that was open to children. Mayor's response said jealous. When confronted about the original video by commenters, Mayor Constantine Anthony said jealous. When called out on the original video, that's all he had to say at first. So that's that. How are we going to end on a spanking by a drag queen? I don't know how we're going to do that. Melopoly says LGBTQ LMNOP is the new official state religion. We have to shorten it to like drag or something like that because they are in full effect. It's like the LGBTQ thing has just become, I mean, the drag is like more, I mean, it's almost like more prominent. I'm going to leave out, I played this a while back. I'm going to leave out on Jimmy Dore. I just want to play it again. This rant is so good. He goes on for 6 minutes. If you want to know why I rock with Jimmy, well, let me show a clip of why I had a problem with Jimmy first. Then I'm going to end with why I rock with Jimmy. I have a question for Jimmy Dore. This is a short clip. And there, Jimmy Dore had that beef with, what's his name? Dr. Cornel West. And so that beef was pretty serious. Not like fighting or anything like that, but a serious rift. I don't think they can overcome it. But in that, I have questions for Jimmy as well, not just Dr. Cornel West. And I just don't understand why Jimmy is like this. He acknowledges that we should be in it together, meaning we don't separate by race and identity first. We separate, first by, our culture, shared culture in our country, then go into that Constitution, Declaration of Independence first, then within that we have diversity. Jimmy Dore acknowledges that, but at the same time in his mouth, he also says, I still understand you talking about race.
We're in this together, man.
And that's the message. We're in this together. That's what I was trying to impress upon Cornel West. And I'm not saying at all that black activists shouldn't talk about white supremacy or connected to class. That's all.
So I don't understand. That's what Dr. Cornel West was doing, was talking about white supremacy, the nonsense. But Jimmy obviously said, I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about it.
Activists shouldn't talk about white supremacy or connected to class. And I'm not saying at all that.
And he has to say that because he'll get wrecked by the race baiters on that side. A lot of them I respect, but they're race baiters. When push comes to shove, they will call Jimmy Dore racist. It's just a matter of time. And he deserves it if he believes this.
And I'm not saying at all that black activists shouldn't talk about white supremacy or connected to class. That's all. I'm saying that.
So what is your take, Jimmy? Is your take that because he's running for president, he should fake it? Is that your take?
All that black activists shouldn't talk about white supremacy or connected to class. That's all. I'm saying that in the context of a presidential campaign. And I think the bigger issue is that when he wraps everything in LGBTQ, trans, and white supremacy, that he's playing into the hands of the Democratic Party. Just like when he says that Trump is a greater evil, he's playing into the hands of the Democrats. He's actually campaigning for them when
I agree with that, but wait for it.
He does that. I'm not saying what he is saying is incorrect about LGBTQ or white supremacy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's playing into the Democrats' game when he does that.
Jimmy, what are you saying? I don't know. So I got a problem with that. But I still rock with Jimmy. If you want to know why I rock with Jimmy, I'll leave you out with 6 minutes of just Jimmy with straight up heat. That's one of my favorite rants of the year. He doesn't stop either. You're like looking at it. You're like, when is he going to stop? Let me find it first. I just had it, but let me get the music going, and then I'll be out. Epidemic sounds. See how this one's done. Cool. I'm going to find that Jimmy Dore. I am out. Thanks a lot for joining. It's been Middle Maga Spice 77. It's been fun. Peace.
They want to discredit
the kookiest take possible.
Anybody who's asking questions is a crazy, and they're so that like this. Hey, those people who are calling other people crazy, they just don't want you asking questions because it might hurt Joe Biden's reelection campaign.
Sure,
and that's what this is all about. So they want to make anybody who's asking questions is a crazy conspiracy nut. But the people who are saying those people are crazy conspiracy nuts are the biggest conspiracy nuts in the world. There's no crazier conspiracy in my lifetime than Russiagate. Russiagate was a hoax from start to finish that was perpetrated by the DNC, the Clinton campaign, and the FBI and the CIA, and Barack Obama knew it was a hoax. They all knew. The head of the FBI knew. And how do I know that? Because there's open testimony in court that said they knew that. The head of the FBI said he briefed Barack Obama. The head of the FBI said he knew that this was a hoax. That's how I know that, but never gets reported in the media because the media reported Russiagate as fact for 7 straight years. The Durham report comes out. Nobody reads it. Nobody even knows what the Durham report is. Again, because it doesn't get reported on corporate television because the establishment doesn't want you to know that Russiagate was all made up. Because if you knew Russiagate was all made up, then you wouldn't want to be for the Ukraine war, because the Ukraine war is all based on Russiagate, which is why I was against Russiagate from the moment it started. And I told everybody at the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and every other dumbass over there to stop repeating FBI, CIA talking points because you have Trump demangement syndrome. Because what this is going to do is lead to censorship and a war. And that's exactly what it's led to. And none of those people are apologetic. They don't care that hundreds of thousands of people are being slaughtered in Ukraine and used as cannon fodder in an economic war from NATO and the West against Russia and China. And we are crushing. We did them. You know, don't you feel like an asshole if you got an electric car, got rid of your gas stove, and then they blow up the Nord Stream pipeline? Those same people telling you to get an electric car and get rid of your gas stove are the people who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, the biggest ecological disaster in history. They did it on purpose because what the NATO and the West has always feared was Germany and Russia coming together. They feared Russia's manpower and Russia's natural resources coming together with Germany's capital and their engineering. And that's why we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. And that's why we're tanking. We're doing it to Europe. And I don't understand why Europe puts up with it, but it's just maybe if you look at a map of where all the NATO bases are, that'll tell you why U.S. is the hegemon. But we're losing that right now because what Joe Biden and the neocons are doing right now is way worse than anything that Trump ever did. And they're doing exactly what they said Trump was going to do. He's alienating our friends. He's meaning Joe Biden and his neocon administration is they're creating now economic alliances to thwart the United States. Right, we have BRICS, right, which is Russia, China, South Africa, India, Brazil, and places in Africa are coming together, and they're going to oppose us now economically. Guess what? Saudi Arabia started selling oil in other denominations besides the U.S. dollar. That is catastrophic for the United States economy. All this stuff they're doing, and they said Donald Trump was going to be the impetus to do this and wreck our economy and get the world to turn against us. It's exactly the opposite. Donald Trump was the one who wanted to take our troops out of the Middle East, which is why they Russiagated him in the first place, and because he said
there was a deep state, and he ran on stopping our Middle East wars. He wouldn't bomb Syria. He wouldn't bomb he wouldn't send arms and stuff to Ukraine. That's why they impeached him. So that's what this is all about. This is a military-industrial complex. The same people who own the military-industrial complex own Joe Biden, own your corporate media, which is why the American people are the most propagandized people in the world, and they have no idea. The difference between the United States being a citizen being propagandized and someone in the former Soviet Union
or like China
someone
or
in China is they know they're being propagandized. People in America literally think Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper are telling them the truth. Anderson Cooper gets $12 million a year. $10 million of that comes from Big Pharma. You think that guy ever told you the truth about anything? He's a former CIA man, Anderson Cooper. But literally, people think when they open the New York Times,
in the CIA?
Yes, he was.
What did he do?
So I don't know what he did. He's in the CIA. But
jerk off patrol. Yeah.
So probably Operation Mockingbird. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
It's not over, by the way. So the news media, they used to have to infiltrate with CIA people. Now they bring the head of the CIA right on their news show and ask him questions like he's a reliable source.
Sure.
What you're supposed to do is bring someone on to tell you what lies the CIA guy just told. But that's not what they do anymore. They bring the CIA guy
like he's on a press
because
tour.
of Trump.
Yeah.
Because of Trump. And these are all good people, and Trump's the bad person. And so they have to make Trump out to be a 30-foot tall Hitler in order for you to vote for a guy who's an enemy of the people, who promised to veto health care in the middle of a pandemic and just crushed the workers' union and the railroad strike. That's real fascism. And that's what the Democrats are all pushing. Every asshole in Hollywood is for it. They don't think for themselves, and they shame you if you try to think for yourself. You saw that bit I had about people don't do your own research. Before COVID, doing your own research just meant reading. And that's how fucking stupid asshole comedians are in Hollywood, that they're literally shaming people for trying to get informed. You're supposed to do the other thing. You're supposed to shame people for not getting informed and following fucking rules without questioning. That's the opposite of comedy. And every asshole who has a fucking podcast or a goddamn comedy special that I saw in the last 3 years said that shit, told people to not look into it, trust Big Pharma and trust government. It's the exact opposite of being a comedian. And if you're doing that, you're not a comedian, you're a fucking propagandist.
Yeah, well said.
Other than that, do you have anything else to add, Jimmy?
What do you make of the State of the Union we just saw a couple days ago?
Oh my gosh.
Compared to the State of the Union as it stands today versus under President Trump.
Well, I thought President Trump's last State of the Union address was the greatest we've ever had. And he had so many accomplishments, and I'm looking forward to him getting back in office and bringing us more accomplishments. It was funny that Joe Biden liked to take credit for everything. Everything good that he took credit for was something that President Trump had put into play. And I think watching him and watching the partisanship there, and watching the Democrats just clap and get all excited about what he was spewing out, it was sad. It was a sad day. Some people were criticizing Republicans because somebody yelled out, "You're a liar," or something like that. But that's the truth. He talked about fentanyl, and he's the reason we have a fentanyl crisis. He opened the border within minutes of him taking office. He told the world, come on over, come on across the border, in so many words. And he pulled back every single policy that President Trump had put into place to secure our border. And Arizona is suffering so greatly because of that. And Iowa is suffering. The fentanyl crisis, I just spoke to a woman whose son died of a fentanyl overdose. It wasn't an overdose, it was a poisoning. And now his 10-year-old son is left without a dad. And we're sick and tired of it. And Joe Biden is a joke. He's a laughing stock. And we're going to watch as he destroys this country. And we've got to get President Trump back in to turn things around.
I was talking to a group, that is one of the first things we're going to do. We're going to issue a declaration of invasion and start constructing that wall using the materials on the border. And we're going to finish President Trump's wall on state land and federal land. It is possible. We do have the right to do that. And we'll fight that right up to the Supreme Court. And then we're going to find out if our Constitution stands, which it will.
Amen.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm from Iowa, so I could talk all day, but I'm going to let you guys get on with your day. And I want to thank you for inviting me here. I wasn't sure I could talk politics. I'm glad you have a church that A, didn't shut down, and B, realizes that we have to save this amazing country we have, that God took a hand in helping create. And so thank you, Pastor, for letting me come and speak. Appreciate it.
What's happening is BS. And so the only people who are okay with it are the people sitting in the White House, illegitimate people sitting in the White House, and the Marxists and the globalists who are with them. We're in a war right now between globalists. Whoa, why did I even print these? We're in a war right now between Uniparty and America First. Do you all get that, what the Uniparty is? The Uniparty is people, they may call themselves Democrats and Republicans, but they are for the status quo, lining the pockets of the political elite. And they will do anything they can to bring down people who want to put our country and our citizens first. That's what it's about right now. This is globalism versus Americanism. Frankly, it's the mama bears versus the globalist rats, okay? And I'm going to tell you what, I'm putting my money on the bears over the rats. I know it's hard though, because we're watching what's happening and we go, gosh, it's just intense. It's like, how much more crazy stuff can happen? All this crazy stuff happening shows me that they are losing their grip. After that 2020 election, we saw that they would turn on us. We saw the government turn on us. These peaceful protests with hundreds of thousands of incredible Americans sick about what they witnessed on November 3rd in that election showed up in Washington, D.C. on a cold January 6th day. And then some feds dressed up in MAGA outfits instigated that crowd. And because of that, some very good men and women are rotting in prison right now for exercising their First Amendment rights. That was not an insurrection. That was a Fed-surrection, and we all know it. That was a Fed-surrection. And we all know it. They were trying to trick these good people in. Can you imagine this? These people who just were so upset about what happened, they walked to the Capitol. They showed up there. They get 6 years in prison. Then you walk across the border and what do you get? You get a free vacation. You get an airfare, a ticket anywhere you want in the country. You get a cell phone. You get a bus ride to Cape Cod because some of these governors want the photo ops. I would love a vacation in Cape Cod, frankly, okay? And you know what else they give these people who break into our country? Citizenship. That's what Joe Biden wants. Over my dead body. Over my dead... Are we going to give 3 million or 4 million people walking across this country, all across our border, citizenship? We're putting our foot down and we're not going to let it happen. The whole world knows what happened. They know these same corrupt people. What they did in 2020, we know it more than anybody, by the way. They know what they did in 2020. They did it again, only bigger and bolder in 2022 right here in Arizona when they rigged that election. In the whole world knows what happened. They know these same corrupt people. What they did in 2020, we know it more than anybody, by the way. They know what they did in 2020. They did it again, only bigger and bolder in 2022 right here in Arizona when they rigged that election. let it happen. The whole world knows what happened. They know these same corrupt people. What they did in 2020, we know it more than anybody, by the way. They know what they did in 2020. They did it again, only bigger and bolder in 2022 right here in Arizona when they rigged that election. People, what they did in 2020, we know it more than anybody, by the way. What they did in 2020, we know it more than anybody, by the way. They know what they did in 2020. They did it again, only bigger and bolder in 2022 right here in Arizona when they rigged that election. And I follow election integrity because it is near and dear to my heart. And all I want is for every American.
Gary, I think what you want to do, like Donald Trump, you want to fuel the sense that every time you guys lose a fair election, it's unfair and rigged and stolen. And every time you win, it's the purest example of efficient working democracy imaginable. That's really what it boils down to.
I'm looking at polls and I follow election integrity because it is near and dear to my heart. And all I want is for every American.
Gary, I think what you want to do, like Donald Trump, you want to fuel the sense that every time you guys lose a fair election, it's unfair.
Happening is BS. And so the only bit, they know these same corrupt people, what they did in 2020, we know it more than anybody, by the way. They know what they did in 2020. They did it again, only bigger and bolder in 2022 right here in Arizona when they rigged that election.